Hey there, welcome to Metal Sharpens Metal. This is Future Daniel here with a short disclaimer before we get started. So I wanted to let you know that I actually tried to film this video 3 different times because each take, as I went back and looked at it, it didn't seem to do justice to introducing this band and this song. But as I was listening to all that footage, I did find some worthwhile points in each take. So rather than try like a 4th time and potentially not say everything or make a 90-minute video that nobody wants to see, I just decided to kind of make a patchwork combination of all the takes that I made and just take the best point that I could find from each one.
Today is the hardest I have worked in a long, long time.
So you will be noticing that there is a difference in lighting and beard length. I mean, seriously, take a look at this. What is that?
Comb your beard.
So yeah, I hope you don't find that too distracting if you actually even watch these videos. I know if it were me, I'd probably be listening 99% of the time, but I just wanted to let you know that. And I know that I am in the future, but we still have those rules that apply where you can't just say things about the future and tell people how to win sports bets, or else you will end up potentially dating your mom. That's going to be weird. I will say one thing though, gum has gotten mintier in the future than it was back when I first recorded these videos. All right, anyway, back to the video. Hey, welcome. This is Metal Sharpens Metal, and my name is Daniel. Today we have the song Hereafter by the UK metal band Architects.
It's gonna be metal!
They have been around for a while. They've got that lasting value in the metalcore scene. And so, yeah, I'm excited to finally check these guys out with you. So let's jump in. Very cinematic intro here. Camera movements are trippy. It's like they're playing in the asphalt volcano or something. I wasn't ready for the rapture. I wasn't ready for that either. Now the ocean beautiful chorus. And that guy in the last scene was the drummer. We're going to talk about him too. Bends. Down. Such an angry riff. Listen to the choral singing in the background of this line right here. So little heavy. Whoa, what a song. Okay, I was doing a lot of deliberation in my mind about which song to start with for these guys because they have been around for a long time, like I said. I've known about them since their album Hollow Crown and went back and listened to the album before that called Ruin as well. They had, mostly been defining the genre of metalcore, but they also had one album that people didn't receive quite as well. It was a little more raw of a sound, was a little bit more hardcore and punk kind of vibes at times. I actually liked that one. That was called The Here and Now, and I thought it had a lot going for it. They have a lot of history that we're going to get into, and this song, I know they don't want to be just purely defined by that history, but this song touches on that, and it is representative of their style for most of their time as a band. So I thought it was a good place to start. The chorus, I said to listen to those that little kind of choir of voices in the background. And it's almost like they were sighing, which really goes with the somber theme of this song. The mix is perfect. The guitars sound amazing. The drums fit really well. And yeah, it's heavy, but it's very melodic. And they've got the little electronic elements kind of in the background carrying little parts of it. The breakdown, I realized recently that it sounds like kind of a reverse version of that intro riff. The intro riff is and then the breakdown was down. They do have a lot of attention to detail with those little things that they write. So their main vocalist is named Sam Carter. He has a super powerful voice. He's kind of got that higher pitched yell. Then he's got those clean singing vocals that aren't totally clean. Like he's still screaming with the tonality in the voice. He does it all the time live. He can nail it. It's very impressive. It takes a lot of energy and endurance to do that, and technique to not blow your head off. So anyway, on those older albums, up through the album right before this one, there was always a lot of energy and anger. They said in an interview that they felt like back then they had a following of kind of young, angry people who resonated with that music and really liked the technicality in the instruments. But these same people are kind of fickle if you deviate too far from that. I still remember in some studio video that their drummer Dan was kind of mocking them a little bit and saying like, oh, I'm sure they're going to be saying, where's all the techie bits gone? And I just love that. And so then their albums kind of progressively got angrier and angrier at police, misuse of authority and power, what they saw as climate issues, and like how, countries were mishandling that. And they started touching on truly blasphemous lyrics at times, even accusing God of sin, effectively.
Heresy, my friend.
I was loving the style of music that whole time, but I couldn't justify the lyrical content to my conscience, and I ended up kind of listening from a distance to a few of those albums. So fast forward a little bit more, and they ended up losing their lead guitarist and main songwriter, Tom Searle, to cancer. At that point, somehow, Sam started writing the most thoughtful lyrical content that I'd heard from him, despite being the most emotionally scarred. They were obviously asking a lot of questions, and there was a lot of emotion, but it wasn't like just anger for anger's sake. They confirmed in some interviews that they had intentionally pulled back on some of the anger and finger pointing to do a bit more introspection and try to promote the changes that they wanted to see, because they recognized that the venting hadn't really gotten them very far. Keep in mind, though, that they still perform many of those older angry songs today live, so they obviously still stand behind the meanings of the songs lyrically. This particular song, Hereafter, was written after Tom had died. He had contributed some of the riffs on this album and had already written parts of it, but his brother Dan, who is Architect's drummer that I mentioned, he ended up writing the lyrics on this particular song. And Hereafter was written specifically about the process of moving on after losing Tom. Right at the beginning, and at the beginning of all the choruses, he says, "Now the oceans have drained out. Can I come up for air? Because I've been learning to live without." And later he says, "Because it's been raining, but there's a drought." So we see it's tough going through this loss of Tom, and it's clearly, you're not going to be rational through that all. And in this first verse, he says that he wasn't ready for the rapture. Like the Left Behind books that are kind of goofy. There are people who are on earth, and then the rapture happens and a bunch of Christians get taken up into the clouds and they're gone, they're in heaven. And then all these people who aren't Christians on earth have to deal with that. Planes are crashing. A bunch of the population of the earth is just gone all of a sudden. So he feels like it's his own personal rapture. He was left behind. His brother was taken away. But these words, they mean nothing to me. He's heard a lot of condolences. He's heard a lot of people trying to resonate with him. And I'm sure so much of that is meaningless to him at this point. Fighting with broken bones here is another one that I think people can envision. If you've ever twisted an ankle, it's painful just to walk on that. Imagine trying to fight while your arm's fractured. Every day is going to feel like survival. He even says in the second verse, some things are broken beyond repair. And it's like, yeah, these bones may not heal quite right. I mean, it's tragic. It's heart-wrenching stuff to read this and to know. Imagine losing one of your best friends. That never gets easy for anybody. And then he says, my own meaningless catastrophe. That is an interesting line, because I don't think he would believe the true end results of that nihilism, where everything really is meaningless. I think he does find meaning in life. He does find that there was meaning in his brother's life, and he was glad that he had that time with him. But right now it feels like a meaningless catastrophe, because it's like, it's one person dying out of 8 billion. What's that really going to mean in the grand scheme of things? He's looking at it a little bit more zoomed out, which I think is very mature, but it's obviously very saddening how he's assessing it right in the middle of this pain. As a Christian, this is not meaningless. No death is meaningless, and it is very real to you for a reason. And then here, a part that will be relevant to our discussion about the lyrics. He spent his fair share in the deepest depths of despair, and he wasn't braced for the fallout. He wasn't prepared for how hard this was going to hit him. So these lyrics paint a picture of somebody who's not thinking perfectly logically, and somebody who is still in the deepest depths of despair, still is struggling at the very beginning stages of showing how he's resolved to move forward. He says, I've been learning to live without. The first thing that comes to mind is that none of us are owed life. It is a gift from God that we were created, that we were born, that we've experienced life up to this point. But I've heard people say that they wish they were never born because of the trials that they've gone through. Even Job in the Bible wished that at one point. And in the book of Ecclesiastes, it says that it's better to have never been born than to go through the hardships in this world. And I thought the dead who are already dead more fortunate than the living who are still alive. But better than both is he who has not yet been and has not seen the evil deeds that are done under the sun. Now, here is Solomon kind of in the depths of depression and figuring out what the point of life is. And especially he concludes that without God, everything done under the sun, all of our existence is vain. And with that mindset, that is going to lead you to believe that you wish you had never been born. On that point, Matthew Henry says that a good man, which is a term he's using to describe a Christian, how calamitous a condition soever he is in this world, cannot have cause to wish that he had never been born, since he is glorifying the Lord even in the fires, and will be happy at last, forever happy. So he is saying that Christians have a motivating force behind them and something that puts meaning into the hard things in their lives. Even a hard life is a blessing from God, because none of us are owed that life, and we aren't guaranteed another day. Some people use that time spitting in God's face, or for promoting themselves, trying to live with the most happiness that they possibly can. So their suffering, anytime they do suffer, is just a burden to them. It's nothing more. There's no good meaning behind it. Ecclesiastes 3:18-20 says, I said in my heart with regard to the children of man that God is testing them, that they may see that they themselves are but beasts. For what happens to the children of man and what happens to the beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath, and man has no advantage over the beasts, for all is vanity. All go to one place, all are from the dust, and to dust all return. If we're just animals who got to this point by blind luck in a blind, pitiless, and different universe, then what are we finding strength in? Because when we die, or when our friends die, we're not going to feel anything. We're not going to remember anything, right? I think many people disagree with this notion deep down, even non-Christians. And that's because we realize that there is a creator and that our lives do have value. We have a finite number of years here, and then we too will be gone with the wind, just like another one of their songs talks about. But it is a small reminder to us that we should be thinking about our own lives, our own souls. And it can be good to realize these things. I'm not saying that the death was good. I'm not saying that that was a good thing in and of itself. Death is unnatural. Death is something that was introduced as part of God's curse. God said this would be the wages. He said this is the consequence for your actions of sin. And Adam and Eve still went through with that. We still go through with that every day. What Adam and Eve didn't have to look at that exact moment was a perfect Savior who could actually reverse this curse. And that Savior is Jesus, who can do that. So why am I going through all this if these guys don't believe in God? My purpose in all of this is to humbly ask why they are grieved. Please don't take this as me trying to capitalize on a bad event in this band's life. I heard from their interviews that there have been people who are like, oh, I wish you would be sad about Tom again so you'd write the cool music again.
Stop it. Get some help.
No, on the contrary, I am trying to show the importance of and elevate the meaning behind Tom's life, actually, so that we ourselves can think of our own mortality and act accordingly before the face of our holy Creator. There's so much more that can be said, but I know that without a gracious work from God to change the hearts of Dan and Sam, they will not be satisfied by my words. And that's okay. This is not the fastest way to make friends, believe me.
I hate the idea that someone out there hates me. I even hate thinking that Al-Qaeda hates me.
Though God does work in mysterious ways, and he could absolutely use a little idiot like me to do something like that. Honestly, it would be beautiful for them to become my brothers in Christ one day. If that happened, I would be overjoyed. I would gladly receive them as brothers. But until that point, I pray that they will continue to struggle with these things, that they will think about their own lives, and they will consider the words of faithful Christians that have been speaking to them. And for anyone else out there who doesn't know the Lord, I pray that they hear my heart as well, that I have the same love for you, and I would love for you to understand who Jesus is and your place in his creation. Thanks for joining me for another episode today, another kind of heavy subject matter, but thanks for sticking through it with me if you made it this far, and we'll see you next time. Bye. I still do that riff sometimes with my mouth.